there's several other representatives and ministers from across the cabinet as well. So again, without further ado, as Roy indicated, Prime Minister is running a bit late. She's been a bit under the weather, and I know that we will all take the opportunity later to wish her, certainly her having had a happy birthday on the 1st, but also Minister Abrams is celebrating his birthday as well this evening. So I think we can get straight in to the first person, and if you can take the floor and just let us start the questions. Good evening, sir.
Good night to everybody.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Tyrone Brooms, and my address was supposed to be Trent Road, Town St. James, but because of the house fire, I no longer living in St. James, but the welfare paying rent for me in Fair Pilgrim, Christchurch. My concern tonight is one that I feeling desperate, really desperate, like for a whole spot. But what happened now is I doing things. I search Barbados, I search NHC, I try to talk to the ministers, I started everybody. I even started God. And I come here tonight trying to talk to people that I feel can help me. Because that's what I come here for, to try to get help with the whole spot. I can't work because I got back problems. I ain't got no money that I could buy a whole spot. But I will like that whole spot because I got business people in Barbados that for some time now willing to help me to rebuild. But them is telling me that if you ain't got a whole spot, you can't get rid of build because we can't just go and build on squatting land. But the bottom line is I come here tonight hoping that people can hear me, understand that I'm desperate for a whole spot and try to help me to get a whole spot. Because I seem to be meeting hard rock. And this rock is so hard, I'm penetrating it, and I would like people to help me to be able to penetrate it. If there's any questions that you ask me, I'm willing to answer, or if there's anything that coming up in my mind to speak, I will speak. But that's the bottom line.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think your concern is one of several other Barbadians as well. I don't know if you've actually been into national housing to be able to indicate that you wanted to have lands allocated, or spoken to your representative, but I would suggest rather than us going through this back and forth here tonight, if you can perhaps go to one of the side tables and just share the information with Roy and any of the others in the team. And obviously your circumstances may require other assistance from other agencies as well, looking like RDC possibly. So I would prefer if you could share that information with them and allow us to figure out the best way in which we can assist you.
Well, I'm willing to do what I'm willing to do what I am told to do, because I hope that what I do can be leading me on to what I'm trying to achieve. So you're saying to go over to these other people?
Yeah, I'm going to ask that you just go to the table, and one of the gentlemen or the ladies at the table will take the information so that we have a bit more background, and then we can actually determine how we can specifically help you.
Okay. Yeah, but I think that's saying that I'm willing to work with.
Okay.
All right, thanks,
thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, next person. the second person up? Okay, if you can just adjust the mic.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Ramal Griffith. Ramal Griffith. I'm from Archon. I have an issue plaguing me. I have to get total hip replacement surgery.
If you can just put the mic a little closer to your mouth.
I have reached out to the Honorable Mayor Motley 3 Septembers ago. She promised me I would get the surgery, and since then I wasn't. Nobody didn't get back to me. I talked to Mr. Morris, my representative, Mr. Abraham know me. He have been to. I was trying to fundraise, it didn't work out. So I tried every angle trying to get this surgery done, and I in a desperate situation. I got my son here is 14 years old. I was waiting for this surgery before my son born, and I ain't get this surgery yet. I got a little girl that is 3 years old, and I wishing to get back on my feet so I could aid them in their everyday things that they gotta do. I sure my children want to see me back on my feet. I want me back on my feet for them, and nobody in aiding me in no type of way, showing me a brink of sunlight. So I'm here to find out if there's any help that I could receive from them.
Can I just ask if the injury was as a result of an accident or
No,
if
it's
it
something
is
that I born with. It's arthritis.
Sorry?
It's arthritis.
arthritis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Okay. All right. So again, you said you had a conversation with Prime Minister. Perhaps we can just follow up after this session and just see if we can perhaps try to understand a bit better why the appointment has actually not been scheduled. I know that there are a lot of delays from time to time at the hospital, but 3 years seems a bit inordinately long for you to have been waiting for a particular surgery. So
I
without
have been waiting for more than 3 years.
yeah, but so without us knowing the details in terms of whether it's an issue in terms of the medical doctor, if there's a backlog, as you know, we went through COVID. A lot of the cases were delayed as a result of the pushing back of the cases. So I'm not sure, I can't say no without understanding a little bit better what the circumstances are from the hospitals end. And I'm not sure if anybody is here from QEH that might be able to speak to it. But certainly we can take the information and certainly investigate and get back to you, sir. All right?
Santia, if I can. If I can. So I will say that I am fully aware of Mr. Griffith's condition because his name, he's Ramel Griffith number 2. There's another Ramel Griffith from my constituency, number 1, who's in the exact same position he was in. So I'm aware of the challenges that they face. And for a while, the hospital had an issue with the parts and getting what was needed for the hip replacement. So they were on hold for a while. But what I can tell you is that they recently started them back. My Ramel Griffith has had an operation and he's recovering now. And so because I have been following up for him, I will actually reach out to try to find out what the situation is for you and then get back to you directly or through Kerry, right? But I'm familiar with what they've been going through because we've been pushing for a long time for it. So I undertake to follow up with your MP, with the Minister of Health, and get back to you as to exactly where you are in line and what you can be expecting. All right? Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Next person, please.
Hi, sorry, good night.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening or good night. My name is Samuel Innes, and I just had to move my car so I would like to know the panel, who am I speaking to?
To my immediate right is
My address, number 1 Hartsville, St. James.
Hi, good night to everyone. My name is Sandra Husbands. I'm the MP for St.
St.
James,
James.
and therefore your MP.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Edmund Hinkson, MP St. James North.
Hi, Samuel Kerry Simmons. I am next door to Sandra.
Your Paynes Bay and
Indeed, yes.
sorry.
I am Wilfred Abrams, the MP for Christchurch East, but I'm here today as the Acting Attorney General.
Do we have any? Okay, I come to talk about the beaches, especially on the west coast of Barbados. I give you some information about myself. I was a lifeguard with NCC back in the 80s. I also do like little lifeguarding in Germany, and I've been a fisherman now for over 35 years. I also teach people to surf along the west coast and wherever. And I have a few questions and a couple statements I would like to put tonight. Is there any national plan for the beaches of Barbados? Any at all? Is there anybody from coastal zone here? Or anybody?
I'm not sure if anybody's here. Perhaps senior minister can speak from a planning perspective, but perhaps you should put your question and then let's see who might be the best person to respond to you.
All right, I got a few questions. All right, I would like to know if there's any national plan for the protection of our beaches, protection of the beach access, to, beach accesses to the beach, obviously. Also to deal with fishing. During COVID, we had some meetings with the former minister. What's his name? He's the minister of the Kurt Humphrey. And the fishermen put together some suggestions and things to him. I never hear anything come out of it. Also, is there any, I've been searching for the word now. Like data collection on our beaches. Any compiled information, like if a film crew come into Barbados tomorrow and they want to do some filming on the beach, can they go online or pick up a flyer or a document saying, well, to describe how Bats Rock look, describe how Fortson look, that would suit their kind of filming. I spoke to Arts when Chief Simmons was politician. I asked about this back in the 90s. And tourism is our business. That's you, the government saying, let's play our part. They just come here mainly for the beaches and the sunshine. When they come, they see how nice the people is, and they want to come back. So if they come and we know the tourists coming here for our beaches, why isn't there a plan, a national plan or something in place to protect our beaches? Right now along the west coast, after Hurricane Beryl, the west coast was almost destroyed. I was in England since June, and I've just come back for a couple of days to deal with my sick father. And I see a lot of work going on. I'm in England actually, people sending me stuff. Because since 2014, I was fighting Sandy Lane, petitioning and protesting about some breakwaters they were planning to build on Sandy Lane Beach, which would destroy the surf breakdown there. Surfing, also this government said that they want to enhance surfing tourism. I mean sports tourism. Sports tourism, it's a big earner. Surfing, I know a lot of people in here, all the guys from the West Coast who know about surfing. I don't know if the panel know anything about surfing. but surfing is a billion-dollar industry. When I tell you a billion-dollar industry that we can tap into, and if we go around doing construction around surf breaks and destroying them, that is income there that the government losing without even knowing. Also, the reefs protect the beaches. When the reef's gone, the beach is gone. And town and country planning have this policy that they like to drop big rocks on the beach and build something called gibbons, which is a wire cage with rocks inside. Now this wire mesh still have a lifespan of 10 years or something. When it mash up, where the rocks going back on the beach to break your ankle when you're walking. Right now there's on Sandy Lane beach construction programs going on. One directly in front of the hotel where finally now they get sense enough that they're dumping sand instead of rocks. And this is what maybe the coastal zone should look at. Instead of a beach washway, first give the beach time. Scientifically on the beach, West Coast beaches, some during the winter we get some very big swells. Some of them bring sand and take away sand. If it takes sand from here, it can take it up the beach. And people don't give the beach time to regenerate. They go and drop big boulders, and when you drop a big boulder, that taking up the space of the sand when it comes back. I mean, it might protecting people's yard wall, which over the years I've seen being built and built further down the beach. And BBC or whoever, NDP, need to come up with a national, what's the word? Something, initiative or laws to protect the beaches of our country. Seriously, right now, when you go there by one Sandy Lane, and you go down to the beach access there, make a right turn towards Sandy Lane, I came in, and when I was up there, I see this big mar road on the beach. And I asked my friend what's going on down there. I walked down, not a sign, not a billboard telling you what work is being carried out. It should be a national policy that if you have to carry out any work on the beach, you need to put up a billboard, who doing the work, what is being done, the length of time, and what it's going to achieve. Just a simple billboard, so people will know what's going on. Half the people in Paynes Bay know what's going on down the beach. The house there, Henrietta, they lost their seawall. I could understand they lose the property, they want to protect the property. But don't just come and drop big rocks and got big trucks driving across and you can't access the beach.
Just do me one favor. Feel free to make your point, but leave out names or references to people that we can identify, especially if you're saying they're doing something negative.
Sorry about that. Anyhow, I would just like to see that if they're carrying out work, to let the public know. As a fisherman now, I wake up one morning and come down there with my boat. I can't see how to catch sprats or whatever. I can't walk across the beach properly. It's disheartening. For the beaches of our country need a bit more respect from the politicians. If we don't know man about beaches, don't hire no big officials from outside that don't know anything about our beaches. The local people here on the beach can tell you. I think also, I would like to suggest that the government start with the coastal zone, start doing profiles. That's the word I was looking for. Profiles of every beach on the island. Collect all photographs of how the beach used to look like, where the old beach accesses were, that now gone, the windows to the beach going or gone, and come up with some sort of plan to help protect our beaches on this island that need protecting, and come up with laws that say anybody doing work on the beach got put up a billboard, not just a little 6x4x4 inch thing in the nation a day before. That's nonsense.
This is your final point, sir? That's it? Okay, before you go, Mr. Innes, just want to say, I want to assure you that we do take our beaches seriously. And that's why coastal zone has obviously been established to be able to preserve the beaches, because I think you are also well aware that the beaches also bring tremendous value in terms of tourism as well. So it's not lost on us in terms of protecting the beaches. I think to your 2 points, which is one, when work is being carried out in the ocean, whether perhaps more notice should be given of exactly what is being done. I appreciate that, and then perhaps there can be more communication to indicate what is happening. But there's a lot of work that is being done by the coastal zone unit in order to be able to deal with the issues of breakwater, to preserve the coastline, and to stop a lot of the erosion. I don't think that they tell us every single thing that they do, because it is obviously offshore. So unlike when we're doing a road and we're giving you a notification as to what we are doing on the roadways, they obviously don't take the same time to tell you what they're doing in relation to the coast. The second issue you raised is in relation to private property. And I have senior ministers here, and I'm sure he can speak to the issues from the planning department. But any application that is going through the system for the purpose of doing any construction on the beaches or on private property that is related to the beaches, obviously that's private property. So those individuals would have applied for planning permission. In many cases, they would have done the environmental impact assessments, the social assessments. And in some cases, you do see signage also on the coastline telling you when there are specific developments taking place. So I don't know if Senior Minister, you want to speak in any detail to the actual process, just so he's clear as to what is happening.
Yes, thank you, Minister Duguid, responsible for planning. First, let me say that, as you said, Deputy Prime Minister, the function and the reason that coastal zone management is there, coastal zone management, is to protect the beaches. And to protect the beaches not only on the west coast, but all around the country. The beaches, the reefs, the shoreline, everything. That's the first thing. And in fact, they go even further into a certain amount of distance in past the shoreline. Now, what has happened, especially what happened with Beryl, is you have people who had damage to their properties. So they have an opportunity to do what's called emergency repairs. Emergency repairs means that they contact coastal. They don't have, in order to protect their properties, they don't have time to go through the long planning process. They inform coastal of what they have to do. There is a whole process set out through the legislation, and once coastal and their engineers agree, they go through emergency. They still then, after the emergency work is done, still have to go through the process of having it registered, going through the process, setting through all of the various things from the beach protection point of view. But let me make it clear, in addition to that, the normal planning process requires billboards, requires them to do environmental impact assessments, requires everything on the beach to go through the board, and all of those things are gone through. But what happened in Beryl, which was significant, has caused them to now have to go through the emergency repair situation. And there is a plan. There is a definite plan for all of the West Coast. And what you're seeing from the SAM point of view is called beach replenishment. And beach replenishment, we recognized, was critical because, yes, some of the sand has come back, but in places where they deem that it will not, they're actually bringing back sand, as you said, to replenish the beach. So there are plans. That's the whole reason for all the engineers at Coastal Zone Management. I do take the point that beach access and beach profiles, if they don't exist, need to be done. but good solid points. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Minister Simmons?
I want to say to you, Samuel, that notwithstanding what Senior Minister Duguid has just said, I agree with him 100%. But I also know that what you're saying is true. And it would have been about a month ago that Minister Hinkson, who will also speak on this issue, I'm sure, and I convened a meeting with Coastal. And in fact, it would have also included Senior Minister Duguid to speak on this to them on this matter. Because far too often on this coast, we have situations where inadequate notice is being given to people, and people who are using their beaches come across an unsatisfactory and unacceptable situation where you are taking a customary walk on the beach on a morning, and all of a sudden you are told you can't pass there, and you do not know why you can't pass, you do not know how long this construction is going to take place, and nobody is communicating with you. Coastal, who is not represented here this evening to the best of what I can see, came to an agreement with us that they will rectify this, because we even pulled the law, which is what Senior Minister Duguid just spoke to you about. But as it is true that in an emergency it is very difficult to do those things. But all the cases that are impacting this course are not emergency. The other thing I want to agree with you on is something that we've had to do at Crystal Cove with the beach access there. Now, you remember, if you were familiar with the Crystal Cove situation, for a long time that beach access next to Crystal Cove
On the south side?
yes, fell into disrepair to the point where people who come in from up in Appleby Gardens and in Fitz Village, Riss Road and so on, could not go down that access, especially the old people, because it actually broke off for a while, after a while. And unless you were able-bodied like you or me, you couldn't jump down there. The reality is then that we had to get that fixed, and Minister Adrian Ford and I went out there personally and talked to the people in the community. But again, this is a situation where that has not been the pattern. And I know it humbugged Eddie, and I'm going to give Eddie a chance to speak to it, because what we then get is people coming to say to us as the MPs, how is it possible that work could be happening on the beach that we go to every day or every week, and we don't know nothing about it? And when is this work going to finish? And sometimes we as the MPs don't even know that the work taking place. So I take your point, and it is a very valid thing that has been humbugging us, and we started to have some discussions with Senior Minister Duguid to try to work it out.
Don't mind, it was made 40 years ago. If you play now tonight, it can resonate with everybody, right? And the reality of the situation, let's face fact, is that a lot of the beachfront property, and this is from the 1960s, Sunset Crest, Sandy Lane, is owned by people who are non-Barbadians. So yes, Kerry is correct. We convened a meeting. I think I raised the issue on the Saturday or Sunday, and with all credit to Minister Duguid here, Tuesday morning we had a meeting, because I was overseas and I started getting messages about about 3 areas in my constituency that beach work was going on. I knew nothing about it, because there's no, in spite of what a lot of the public feel about MPs know everything that's going on and have to be given notice of everything, no notice was given of these works. So to credit to Minister Duguid and Minister Lane, he was acting Minister of the Environment then, I believe he might still be. He was at the meeting too, Minister Simmons and myself, and we met with Coastal, we met with Town Planning. They had a couple permanent secretaries in on the meeting too. And we left there with the clear understanding that one, the members of parliament for the constituency would now be given notice in writing of any works that have been applied for to be done by these beachfront owners. Secondly, that all the people within the vicinity of the works, the neighborhood, would be formally written and told that, well, work's going on, you know, it can be a bit of inconvenience for you, because you can't wake up a morning and go to the beach that you've been going to every morning for years, and your mother and your grandmother too, and then find suddenly that you can't get through because of big crane on the beach and rocks on the beach. Well, that is not fair to Barbadians. So that is the protocol now. There's no law on it. You know, I'm a lawyer, but the law sometimes, some judges have said that too. I don't want to use the word one judge said, but are irrelevant to the conscience of the people, right? So we don't mind the law in this. It's what is right.
Yes.
And it's right that you, as somebody who lives in the vicinity, must be told that work's going on. Now the works have to go on. Let's face fact. Because governance is about balance, right? Balancing the interests. And yes, Beryl came along. People like Minister Blackman and I went down Western immediately after we got the all clear with Beryl. And the people down there said they never saw waves and surges like that in all their life, right? So some of these places got, you know, damage. And, you know, they need repairs. So hence the emergency works that Minister Duguid talked about. But you got to balance that with the interests of the locals. And another thing too, they might send in telling town planning and coastal, well, we can finish these works in 2 weeks. But I know for a fact in my constituency, the 2 weeks turning out to be 2 months.
2 years.
You know, 2 years you say. Well, I don't want to go so long in it, Saturday. I want to keep it real. So, you know, and there again, in my opinion, when it comes in, so I have told them the need to right now and tell the neighborhood and tell the MP, well, look, we run in these difficulties here, so these works can take a bit longer because you're inconveniencing you and the others. But that's, you know, essentially where we're at. And, you know, we're looking after your interests by giving you the information, the notice, and trying to keep, you know, the information. Because the same thing you said about the billboards, the signs, public announcements on radio that the beach can be inaccessible for a couple of weeks. All of that needs to be done. Okay?
Just let me please add one other point with regard to the very important matter you raised on the beach accesses and the plan. Now, this is too important for us not to speak to it. The truth is, Minister Adrian Ford is the minister responsible, but he's not on the island at this moment. But Minister Ford and I have spoken at length on this matter, and we have agreed that the beach accesses, first of all, you're right again when you say that some of them, the original ones, sometimes disappear, and then the ones that are created very often are not properly maintained either, which is why we had that problem at Crystal Cove. Many of them are also becoming a danger because they need now to be lit. People leaving the beach on an evening at 6:30 and 7:30, sometimes leaving the beach in the dark. And you go through a little narrow track. We have one of them there in between Prospect and Fitz Village. In many cases, this is now something that we have to look at and try to dedicate the resources in order to make them more accessible, better maintained, more safe, all of those things. So I am with you on that point too.
Is it possible for me to get your number? I'm leaving the island on Sunday. When I get back in December, is it possible to have a meeting or something with you guys? What? Not just these public accesses, shouldn't be just for walking. nowadays, all this talk, I seen a lot of signs on the West Coast, tsunami. Or if we've known about tourists and locals drowning on the beach, and then like between one sandy lane and maybe by the clinic there's whole town, Sandy Crest, there's no beach access. If somebody, a tourist or somebody drowned down there and you got to save them, how is the emergency people going to get down there to save somebody? I'm talking about beaches because this is St. James, and St. James got the best beaches in Barbados, right? Seriously, we got to look at that. If these accesses, they're not just a little 2-foot thing, but something that an ambulance could go down in or something and save somebody's life or something like that. As an ex-lifeguard, I know what I'm talking about. And I've saved too many people down in Sandy Lane. So all I want to say, I would like to see a national plan or something on the beaches of Barbados, profiles being done, that even like when you come into Barbados, I see when they got pictures of the beaches of Barbados and things. If you do profiles in the beaches of Barbados, your government could give it to the airlines, and when they're coming down here, they could show it on the screen and things, so the tourists will know when they get here, well, Bathsheba in a place to go swimming. Batsrock is nice from this month to this month, but after in the winter, you gotta look out for waves. So they got information on the beaches already. Because it's horrible that somebody come down here for holiday, they drown, family member in turmoil. Simple little things, a profile of the beach. Just a simple thing. I did one of PSB years ago, and I wanted to get it printed out, but I couldn't get any help. Doesn't bother me. I know my beaches.
I want to thank you for your passion about our sea and about our marine life. And I'm glad that you are one of my constituents showing concern for a national issue. And as you can hear, the MPs for the area are as concerned about you, as concerned about the matter as you are. And I just want to reassure you that as a government, it is a concern, and I will explain why. One of the things that as a government we've come to in relation to policy is to see Barbados as a large ocean state. That when we're talking about taking care of Barbados, we're also talking about taking care of the beaches, the ocean, the sea, that all of that is part of what God has given us as a heritage. And what we are seeking to do now is to be able to do the necessary research, begin to understand more about what goes on in that space, and what are some of the things that we have to do to take better use of the space, but also to protect it. But it will take time because we're working on it bit by bit. So let me thank you very much for representing so well on the matter. And I'm sure that you will find that in the government, you will have able partners who are working towards helping us protect and maximize our heritage in the sea and on the beach. Yes?
Samuel, don't go yet. Don't go yet, son. Just want to expand a bit on the beach access issue, which Kerry raised, because we raised that issue too at the meeting. And because I'm concerned too in terms of beach access. And the perception by a lot of people, you've mentioned it, that it's not as accessible as it ought to be. So we got again a commitment from Coastal Department that they will carry out a study on, issues of what? Should there be a beach access every 100 meters, every 200 meters? I don't know. So that analysis is supposed to be carried out.
You can
right,
talk to
Kerry?
me and I will tell you the
and
distance.
you could
talk to me.
you could give your opinion on that when you speak with Minister Simmons. or if you want to give it, no, if you feel.
I can listen, but
Yeah,
just
so
one thing.
afterwards we could
Mr.
talk.
Simmons, you need to check the beach access between Treasure Beach and Tamarind Cove. The hotel they're doing construction, and I mean, you cannot, the old people that usually go down to there now go to down the corner to bed. All sorts of cement blocks and steel and all sorts of things. And when you get down now and you make the right turn to go down the beach, is it Treasure Beach? Treasure Beach. They build a walkway low and all it crack up and full of moss. Dangerous, dangerous. From the time they build it, I ask myself, these people gotta be mad. You gotta be mad. You can't get down there now.
We have to police it better, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Innes. Next person, please.
Good evening. I'm sorry for my English at the beginning. My name is Max. My name is Maxim. Yeah. I have one question. Let me just 2 minutes. And again, I'm sorry for my English. It's not so good. So, Edwin, wait a second. The address, where we live.
Welch's Grove.
Welch's Road, and your first name is Max?
Yeah, my name is Max.
Grove.
Yeah. I'm sorry again for my question, because my question not directly about the St. James. My question a little bit bigger than about the problem which all people have on Barbados. What kind of problem I found on this island? Most of the people, unfortunately, does not have access to the data on the phone. So we can ask a lot of people here, they don't have data because it's very expensive. So data plan, like gigabyte. Like, because the company here, they have a monopoly. Digicel and Flow, they control all telecommunication business here, all telecommunication channels. So they control some power of the government from the Barbados, because the telecommunication channel very important for any country, any government. So in my question to the government, do you have any idea how you can help to the people, give them more access to the fast mobile internet? I talk about the mobile internet, not about the Wi-Fi, because we all have a Wi-Fi. I'm sorry. Because again, I'm sorry. So, because with my friend Edwin, we already started the startup on the Barbados, because we know how to resolve this problem. And if government does not have access to this idea, how they can resolve this problem, I mean, the problem give access to the most of the young people to the free, fast internet, portable internet, like in public transportation, and I don't know, in the schools, everywhere. So if you does not have idea, we can help to the government. I'm sorry about this, but my question, I still have this question to you. Do you have any idea what you can do with this problem?
I'm just going to ask Senior Minister Cattle to just address you. She's a minister responsible for technology.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So the Ministry of Technology is the regulator for telecommunications. So there are various projects that are related to expanding access. In fact, the major providers partner with government to be able to expand access. So for example, Flow has a program called JUMP, which is meant to deliver Wi-Fi mobile access to students and to households in need at a subsidized rate. We've also been building out access in certain areas like Bridgetown. The Smart City project that we have is expanding access and coverage. The other thing that we continue to do is to make sure that we, together with the FTC, keep addressing the price and the quality of service issues. So for example, we regulate digital infrastructure. The Fair Trading Commission regulates price and quality of service. But one of the things that we contribute by doing is to do speed tests and so on to make sure that the telcos are actually delivering what people are paying for and what they say that they're delivering. So those are a few of the projects that are expanding access. We do have some other things in the works that we're not yet ready to announce that are going to focus on upgraded infrastructure in partnership with the two major providers. But you seem as if you have some ideas.
Yes, we
for
have
expanding coverage.
ideas how we can provide. Do you tell me right now the information about, again, not portable internet, like a local Wi-Fi point, like in university, in the school. But what if the person riding on the bus, everybody just watching on the window, nobody can send a message, anything, because again, they don't have a data on the phone. So right now, we know how to provide them this free internet everywhere, in most of the public place, like a bus, I don't know, taxi service, zero vans, or something like that.
Yes. So, I mean, so we do have access to Wi-Fi on many of the buses.
Can I tell you something? You, like a prime minister, I think you should tell the people that in Barbados, you have a third telecommunication operator, but nobody doesn't know about this. This is a company, international company, Starlink. You already covered by Starlink network, so you have access to the free satellite, incredible fast internet.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a secret.
And moreover, the Starlink donate the Barbados, so they donate. What I mean, they sell the equipment much more cheaper in Barbados than they sell this equipment in US.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask you is you sound like you're putting a proposal to us.
Yes.
Which I'm happy to talk with you about because you and I might be the only people who are interested in this conversation.
Because the communication is much more important thing for any part of the world. So we have all this war in the world right now because people does not know how to build the communication.
Right. So you're Max, right?
Yeah.
So Max, let's talk. Let's talk at the back of the room about the ideas that you have,
But again,
and then we can come back and report what we've been able to do.
For anyone, if you have a problem with your home internet, everything that you need $400 Barbados and the DHL courier deliver it to the satellite dish, which will work very fast, independent, hurricane. You don't have electricity, you just plug into the 12 volts and you have access to
Okay, this
the
sounds like something that we can talk about offline and then come back and let people know
Thank
what
you
we've
so
come up
much.
with.
And
Thank you too.
one more thing, not about your personal job, I mean. One more thing about the Barbados. I was visit a lot of countries. Yeah, I'm sorry. One more thing, the last thing. I'm sorry for your attention. The Barbados, it's an incredible country with the incredible huge potential, I mean, in economy. Because I'm looking on this island like a piggy bank. So you have just 300,000 local people, but you have a 41 place by GDP in the world. So the economy in Barbados is very huge. So the question is, how get this money from the economy? And I found the conceptual thing that Barbados does not have. You don't have the high luxury service for the people who won't spend the money. Yes, of course, just simple example, the sandals. They all the time books, all the year, they full. So most of the hotel, they close, most of the owner, they close their hotel at the low season because they don't have a booking. But if you go deep, why they don't have a booking reservation? They don't have a quality service. So I think you can be at the beginning on the big project inside in the country where you can explain sometime you need maybe some small kick to the people, help them look a little bit different on the business what they have, on the opportunities what they have. Again, it's incredible, interesting country. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Max. Next person.
Good night, Prime Minister and other persons on the table. Tonight I want to speak about the work that's being done. Oh yes, Selwyn Brooks, Fire Park Road. Maybe they need to push the volume up a bit. Let me start by saying that I'm very pleased to see eventually something is being done on Empire Park Road. Having resided there since 1971, and also having some understanding to the level of drainage issues that we would have faced over the years. So let me say, by my opening comments, I'm very glad that the work has started. And while I'm not purporting to speak on behalf of the residents of Empire Park, I have some concerns of the work that's being done as it speaks. You don't have to be an engineer to see that the slipper curve that is being put down now is sloped from the roundabout coming back towards the Halls Village area. And that will mean that when the road is completed, a very large proportion of the water that comes as far as the gas station and comes down to the roundabout and turned by the roundabout and going down to Empire Park is going to end up in Empire Park and Prairie Lane. And when it gets into Prairie Lane, it's coming in at me. So I sincerely hope that we can have that matter addressed. Secondly, the last time we spoke here from this meeting, there was supposed to be an opportunity to have a site visit that we would have been able, or I would have been able at least to speak to another drainage issue, which is the well at the corner of Halls Village and Empire Park Road. That up to when, since I heard that this meeting was taking place tonight, I had a brief look at the well there, and there are cracks in the supporting walls of that well. And with the weight and the size of those two large covers, even me myself have some reservation on walking. I would want to think that this is a matter that needs some thorough investigation. It is, I'm not going to speak about the open manholes that has one or two of my cones on, because I anticipate that when the road is finished, that those manholes and whatever will be addressed. But nevertheless, I can anticipate, because whenever that well is not functioning, or well the mulberry leaves and the mahogany leaves block the drain, the resultant water comes onto my property. And even though I have sunk 2 wells, I do not believe, as a backup, I do not believe I should be in a position to have to absorb that level of water, because you can't plan for any eventuality, because even if you have a well that is anticipated to hold 300 gallons and 500 gallons fall, that is unfortunate. But certainly, I need to suggest that some evaluation be done, Madam Minister, of that well, because the cracks, and you see my hands are pretty big, and I can put my hand in the cracks of those foundations, which means, since I know the depth of that foundation, the weight of the slab at top, it's just a matter of time before that 2 covers cave in. And very much, I have some reservations that when the water goes into Prairie Lane, and you will know I know the area very well, that water is going to end up on my property. And I don't think at my years I can swim too well. So those are my comments for tonight.
Thank you, Selwyn. I think I am the appropriate person to respond. Just to say that I am as pleased as the residents of St. James in relation to Prairie Park actually having been started. We anticipate that it's going to probably be about another 6 to 8 months before actual works have been completed. And it is, in fact, a full rehabilitation of the road, which involves a number of the drainage works being done, a number of wells being dug, the slipper and curb being properly repaired. There are areas, even at the entrance by Redmond's Village, I've had a peeve quite a long time with the fact that the road was not completed at that junction. And we've extended the road works, not just for the road, but extended it all the way to that junction to correct what should have been done under the improvements that should have been done under the highway several years ago. So it's a full rehabilitation. Selwyn, I do believe that we owe you a visit visit in terms of being able to have a word with you in relation to the impact of that road. But we spent the last few months since we would have been here working on the design and build for the road. Now, traditionally, MTW would usually seek the quotations from the contractors, and in many cases, we were finding that we would then have variations when they run into soft spots, or they then had to go back and consult with residents like yourself over certain issues relating to the design. So we took a different approach this time around with a number of these roads which fall under the CAF project, and the design and build is actually allowing us to iron out a lot of these issues beforehand that you are raising, so that once the road is completed, it is full reconstruction and rehabilitation of those roads to obviously engineering standards. I don't know if, Jason, you want to speak as CTO? You can speak, yeah. I understand you're from St. James South as well?
Yes, I am from St. James South.
So the CTO has a vested interest in making sure that this road is done well too.
Yes, there isn't much to add to what you said in terms of the road is a full rehabilitation and it will include significant drainage work. You would have seen the commencement in terms of excavation for the curb and slipper. Yes, you may see the road may have been sloped in certain areas, but that is just to channel the water towards where we are putting the more drainage systems to take care of the water. So I don't think it should be a significant issue in terms of water from Prior Park Road heading into the community itself, right? So that's the main thing, yeah.
Thank you very much, Jason. And let me, on behalf of the residents of Prior Park, express deepest thanks to the Ministry of Transport and Works. We had an online meeting, and the residents were really pleased to know that at last we are fixing that Prior Park Road. And we hope that with the visit by the drainage and the other entities to deal with Mr. Brooks' problem, that we'll be able to resolve the flooding that is likely at the junction where his house is at. But we are happy, we are pleased, and looking forward to it being completed.
Let me also... But before you go, Mr. Brooks, that having been said, I represent the other half of Prior Park, and I would have to lend my voice to those sentiments as well. It has been long in coming, but we are exceptionally pleased that it has come.
Okay, I'll take you back as far as when Liz Thompson was the parliamentary representative. And there was a proposal to address when you come across the longest part of Prior Park Road before you get to the bends, that we were going to take out those very dangerous bends. Because I don't think there's anybody in this room that will hear the squeaking noises and the boom of persons who collided in that bend. I noticed from the markings on the road, the utility poles that were placed backward, and possibly, in my interpretation, in anticipation that you would have taken some of the sharpness out of that bend. I haven't seen, based on the markers, that reflects that. So I don't know if you can address that, because I have paid dearly as a result of the vehicles damaging my fence and my property as a result of that very sharp bend. Okay? So that is something. And before you go, the last time we were here, we also spoke about the water. And I want to say, ma'am, the water problem has been resolved. So for that, again, I want to say thank you very much.
I just want to say that I haven't been speaking because I'm suffering from very bad chronic sinusitis, and you can hear my voice is not what it normally is. So Santia, I thank you for carrying the weight for me tonight, as well as the other members of Parliament and the Acting Attorney General. I will speak only when necessary, but I felt that it was important to be present, but Santia will continue to chair the meeting. Thank you.
Hello, good night. My name is Patricia Benedict. I am from number 7 Flamboyant Avenue in St. James. I want to find out what is really going on in Barbados. What is going on in Santa Cruz, St. James, that well, not now because certain people have intervened, but what has been going on for years in Santa Cruz, not even the media knowing what's going on in Santa Cruz has just kept their mouth shut. You know, Mr. Home Affairs Minister could tell you a little more about it. You know, I mean, there's this organization.
We want to actually understand and help you.
So I will address the water okay. First, the water.
Going on for some time.
Sorry, ma'am, if you could just give your name and your address, please.
My name is Elsie Edwards. I live at 35 Waterhall Terrace, Waterhall in St. James, right opposite our Honorable Minister, one of your ministers here. My prime concern is, I'm born in the Garden St. James. I lived there till I was about 18 years old, and then I went away. I migrated, studied. I'm back here in my hometown now. My concern is, I've spoken to the minister in charge of the St. James area, and he's here tonight, about a road. The only road that is missing down that area is by the Christian Mission Church, which has residents living in that area, and they are still walking a muddy road and having access, having to walk through the water and the dirt and everything in that road. Now, I spoke to Mr. Hinkson some time ago, and he said, he gave me an excuse that nothing can be done, and that's not true. When I made an investigation recently, okay, I was told Miss Thomas owned the land that correspond with the people that live in at the back of them. They have nice houses up there, but not nice roads. And Miss Thomas is now dead. Miss Nye, her daughter, have given permission, this is what I was told, permission that the road can be done up there. They offered it to the government, and people went and investigated it, and they said there was not a problem for the road being built up there. Now my concern is, why isn't it being done? Why do they have to live like that? There's nobody living in the 15th and 16th centuries anymore. I went to school with barefoot and no socks and walking down muddy roads and things like that. Those days are gone. Uplift our people, bring them into this century. There is no right, no school child or school girl, boy, or should be walking in that road. Mr. Hinkson have to explain to us tonight why we can't have a proper road up in the back of the Thomas land. I would appreciate that.
Before Eddie comes in, because I know he's going to say that this minister has done a number of roads in his constituency, and this particular one I'm sure is on the list. But just to say to you, ma'am, we have focused on a lot of those other major roads in terms of rehabilitation, but there's also another program which the Prime Minister has conceptualized, which relates to short roads, or what we could call the community access roads, which I think you are speaking about. We've been able to acquire about $3 million in equipment through the Ministry of Finance to be able to start that program over the last year or so. That program is ongoing, and what we asked of the various members of parliament and the depots was to identify a number of those short roads across the communities. Now bear in mind we have 30 constituencies, MPs rather, that we have to service. So we've tried to do at least 2 per MP, particularly in the rural parishes, to ensure that we're able to stop people from having to come out into the cart roads. So what I will do is I will note the area that you've mentioned, and I will try to see if we can put that into the works program going forward. All right?
Yes. But yeah,
Okay.
I'm listening.
Mrs. Edwards, I thank you for raising this issue. Let's give a little historical perspective on this because, as I'm sure you're aware, during COVID, of course, some pipes were moved from there because that was an issue, and Water Authority moved some pipes there that were preventing vehicular access to that short road you're talking about. And the road was paved afterwards too, rough paved, granted, but it was paved to give better vehicular access. The reality of the situation, as the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Public Works just said, Barbados has 30 constituencies, right? And this party has won all of those constituencies the last 2 elections. So when we came into office, 70% of the roads in Barbados were in a state of disrepair and needed repairing. That's not Edmund Hinkson saying that. A study was carried out by the CDB in 2017 that said so. COVID came and everything else. All those 70% of the roads in Barbados, which has perhaps, I think, the largest road network in the world per square mile, could not be repaired like a drop of the hat. 12 roads have been repaired in St. James North between December last year and May this year. The truth, I hear Minister Colin Jordan on the side because he and I have a joke, which I won't reveal here. We have a joke. So St. James North has had the most road repairs in the first 6 months of this year outside of the city and St. Michael West because of World Cup. So we can't repair.
Can I stop you for 1 minute?
It is a
please?
blessing
Let
when
me
people
stop you for
admit that
1
they
minute,
get
please.
benefits.
Let me stop you for 1 minute.
So I am sure, hold on, I'm sure that the Deputy Prime Minister who is in charge of roads has heard. One of the problems too, of course, is the road you're talking about, as you have said, has an issue about ownership, private. It is a private road, so, you know, the government, of course, would repair public roads first. That is a private, that's over private land. So we have to be fair to the minister, to the prime minister, to the
can I
cabinet.
stop you for 1 minute, please? St. Michael have had their roads done. This one have had their roads done. I'm talking about one road. And from Mount Stanford, from, what should I say, up by, I think, all the way to Spikestown have had proper road. This is the only road that I know down the garden, Mount Stafford and all those places that hasn't been done. And there is about time that there should be no excuses. I can assure you there should be no excuses. You're talking about this and that. You have papers to sanctify the fact that it was such that the road should be done. But nothing is done about it. Nothing is, nice houses is up in there. People, I made sure my family home and things like that is done, and properly too. But they have got no roads to walk up in there when you're sitting down and telling us this road has been done, that road has been done. What about the road down there? It's the only road that hasn't been done. That is what I'm trying to say to you. Don't make excuses about that. It's the only road down there that hasn't been done. And what are you going to do about it? It's about time you do something about it and start talking about this road and that road. I'm not interested in St. Michael or whatever. I'm interested in where we live. All right? Where I come from. I don't live there. He knows where I live because he's looking right at me.
So
every time you open your door,
I'm
look
going to
at
ask
me.
you
But
to
I don't have to work down, but the family works down
Ma'am,
there.
I'm going to
And the
ask you to
family
just
lives down
calm
there.
down a little bit. I know that people get a little anxious when it comes to the
Getting
roads, and I hear
annoyed
your
because
passion.
Mr. Hinkson knew about this before
but-
I get to this platform.
But I
This was
also-
a mutual conversation before me and him get to this
Madam,
platform.
Madam, I'm sure that you agree that the Deputy Prime Minister has the right to speak too.
Sorry,
She's
yes.
Minister of Public Works. Let her
Deputy.
speak. Thank
Yes.
you.
I will let you speak.
Yes, ma'am. I understand fully your concern. As Minister Hinkson indicated, if there is a legal issue, and this has been something that has plagued us as well as we try to improve a number of the access roads in communities. Because sometimes you go in to do the road with the best intentions, and then you are prevented sometimes because it just takes one person to say, you can't come across here because the road is in dispute, because the estate matter. And I'm not speaking to yours because I don't know the details. I'm just giving context because it's important that people understand that while they may have roads that need doing, it is not every road that we're able to go into quickly and to be able to bring rehabilitation to those roads. I give you the assurance because I gather that there are several elderly people living in that particular district that Minister Hinkson, myself, and the rest of the team will take a look at the road, get the details, and see how we can address it. But not to belittle the points that he's made, there have been substantial roadworks done in his constituency to the ire of my other colleagues in St. James. It isn't because Minister Hinkson submitted perhaps over 400 roads in his area that needed done, and we've probably done about 40% of what he had submitted. But many of those roads were interconnected roads providing access from, say, Highway 2A to the West Coast, to the northern parishes, and they were key connectors. So it was not specific to Minister Hinkson. I just want to make that point. When we have limited funds to play with, when we have 30 constituencies to service, it is in our interest to make sure that we spread a bit of love every single place, and we do it with very clinical in terms of how we spread the love across the country. So I assure you, we'll come and we'll visit you and take a look at the road. Yeah. And as PM is saying, in terms of prioritizing where there is the greatest need as well, that is all part of it as well. The other thing is, if Barbados Water Authority has to become involved, sometimes that is a very drawn-out process as well, because you may see a road that we can do as a short road, but it may actually need mains either lowering or mains replacing. And we're having to rely on the resources of other agencies, both Barbados Water Authority and Light and Power, before we can actually come in to do the roads, okay? So there are complex issues that sometimes the public may not understand, but that's why Prior Park, for instance, took as long as it did, because we had to wait to have the mains replaced in that area before we could actually go in to start the road rehabilitation. And the teams from BWA are doing, I mean, we have 15 roads going on in the Scotland District under the Scotland District project. BWA is on all of those roads. And they're replacing the mains on all of those roads across the country to bring improvement to the Scotland District as well. So I hear you, but I do ask you to just be patient with us. We'll take a look at the road and see what we can do.
Thank you.
All right.
I understand you and I can hear you quite well. But the point is, all the paperwork is in your department somewhere. I've been told that officially. And nothing has been done. It's too long and waiting. The last time I spoke to Mr. Hinkson, he explained to me that there are pipes up in there and there are things that can be damaged up in that road. And since then, I actually refurbished my mom's house. Big lorries went up in there and dropped off bricks and mortars and God knows what. Nothing has been broken, and they were delivered, and nothing broken, cut, nothing. So we don't want no more excuses, ma'am. We just want to see it done for the benefit of the people that is living there. Not for me. I live somewhere else. But I was born and bred down there, and my family is still down there. So I am here to speak on behalf of my family. And I would appreciate it very much if you all take this on board and look at it in a more polite way. You know what I mean? Instead of dismissing it and saying, well, that can happen next week, or it can happen there. There are people living there. I respect them. Please, I'm asking you. I hope and wish Mr. Hinkson is listening very carefully, that it comes under your jurisdiction, that maybe you can try and see if you can get that work out as fast as possible. There's no point laughing and giggling at it, because I'm serious about it. I will come back and back and back again till I can get it seen done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Next person.
Hello, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I kind of have an issue of national interest. Oh, my name is Tita Flumo McIntosh, and I'm from Mount Sanford, St. James. So I wanted to talk about our intellectual property, and I kind of feel as if we are a bit of a standstill with this area of our national development. There are a lot of ideas and cultural forms and just products that need to be protected under our IP. Some of them need geographical indications, some of them need patents, and it would really be wonderful if we could sort of move forward with that part of our development. I know that the legislation is there, but it's about moving it and progressing and going forward with it. Secondly, I also know we speak about AI, but a lot of people still don't have a good idea on what AI is and how we are progressing on it. I'm also concerned that as we move forward with AI, we're going to have some companies choosing to utilize the AI over human labor. So I certainly hope that we can balance the two and we can kind of keep companies in check from eliminating workers and the workforce based on AI use. So thank you all very much.
Okay, Minister Cadell, you want to address that?
Thank you for the comment on AI. The truth is that all over the world, the question of what the role of AI will be with respect to people's jobs, truth is that Minister Jordan should probably be coming in and also having a comment on this. But we're at the very beginning. So one of the things that I was able to report recently, having just come back from some discussions with Howard, is the setting up of a Center for AI Innovation and Governance. Why innovation and governance? One, we want to develop the technology and we want to use AI as an opportunity for young people to find different kinds of new jobs, because it does create that opportunity. It is not just about AI removing jobs, but one, improving jobs, and two, creating new kinds of jobs. What does that look like? We announced not just the Center for Innovation and Governance with Howard, but that we're building out a new data center over 3 years. That is a whole new industry. It doesn't exist in Barbados now. It is about training people in data science and data analytics, which we've already started developing the program to do. UE is doing some of that. We're going to be doing some of that with Howard based on this agreement that we've just started to advance. So I think that you are right in terms of the rules part, which is the governance part of that center. So we're working on the innovation and building the industry. Alongside that, we have to make sure we have the legislation. We have to make sure we say to people, these are the ways that you can responsibly use the AI technology. These are the ways that you have to do it in a way that protects people's data, and that we also make sure that we are managing the kinds of jobs that it produces. So if you do have an interest, let me know. Because we are looking for people more and more who are interested in growing into the industry. Yeah? So thanks for that interest.
Thanks for that question. Sorry.
If I will only add to Marsha before Chad comes in, that this is an area that is probably going to be best handled regionally rather than nationally alone, because its implications for the integration movement and the single market and single economy, because our domestic economy is effectively our regional economy because of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. And therefore, one of the things that we are very, very clear on is that there needs to be a stronger regulatory framework regionally. Barbados takes up chairmanship of CARICOM in January, and it is one of the areas that we will be pushing with the CARICOM Secretariat, because right now we feel as though that we don't have enough guardrails to protect us all, but also it isn't only about protection, as you heard from Marsha, it's also about creating the platforms for opportunity, okay? So this is virgin territory for the entire world. The EU is probably the most advanced in terms of its analysis of the kind of regulatory framework that it needs. And on data matters, you will notice that China has a very state-centric approach. The US has an approach that is very market-centric. And the European Union tends to come in between there. We in the region need to set out what is possible and what is in the interest of the integrated community that we have, rather than each country going off and doing their own separate regulation. In the same way that we're now having to harmonize companies' laws and a whole host of other pieces of legislation because you have a common market. Okay?
Okay,
Chad?
thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. On your first point with respect to intellectual property, you'll be happy to know that Economic Affairs is working with the Ministry of Commerce so as to ensure that we build out what we've been talking about with respect to the knowledge-based economy. And why am I saying that? When you look at where countries, for example, in the global north and south, China, South Korea, United States, as the Prime Minister mentioned, those economies were able to leap, one, when there was significant research and development backed by intellectual property, and then those ideas will be able to take into market domestically and also for export. So both ministries are working to ensure that within the coming months that the country has a strategic framework looking at where the intellectual property framework can now harness Barbadian ideas to go forward. And then the last point on the knowledge economy, but tied to what you're saying, if we as a country can use our creativity, our ideas, and put them to global market backed by intellectual property, the sort of revenues coming into Barbados over time will be significant. And therefore, you can look out for that sort of strategic alignment and any ideas that not just you, but anyone, of course, who's watching online that want to contribute to that sort of framework, please contact the Ministry of Economic Affairs, of course, or Commerce.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you very
that
much.
there's one other point that Chad would have raised. In our recent corporation tax reform, and you would have just seen Minister Strawn come back from signing the arrangements as to what we're doing in terms of our corporate taxation. We have carved out a special place for what is known as a patent box. And in that patent box, while the normal taxation in the country will be 9%, we've said that for patent box, where there's intellectual property, in other words, being generated, and so long as, I think the threshold is 80%, but I speak subject to correction, so long as 80% of the intellectual property is created within the jurisdiction of Barbados, not all, then you're in a position to claim a special tax rate of 4.5%. We've done that because in a very real way, the dismantling of the international business sector means that a lot of the intellectual property rights companies that previously would have done and benefited from low taxation here will not be able to unless they can prove that the intellectual property is in fact created here. So there's actually a unique opportunity that the country has to be able to say to people, come to Barbados. You don't have to do all, but the majority has to be done here. And all of the parties in the context of the creation of that product may not necessarily have to be here, but the majority by far has to be here. You do that, you get the benefit of a tax rate that is 50% of the normal corporate tax rate.
Okay, thank you very much. But I'm sorry, Prime Minister, in terms of the patents, are there any resources for people who are in the pilot stage? Because I'm kind of in the pilot stage, but I'm not sure how do you get assistance or how do you get guidance to move forward from that pilot stage to the actual development of the final patent or the final technological development or device that is going to benefit the country?
I'm not sure I'm hearing you correctly because my ears are really blocked up. But if what I heard is moving from patent to monetization is what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about being in the pilot stage. So you have an idea. You have an idea for a solution.
In terms of getting to the stage of filing the patent?
Yes, and then moving to final completion of the project.
Now, typically that would be done by you and your lawyer. But I accept that in societies where there's a lot of creative talent, that we need to find a way of holding your hands And Marcia, this is where your ministry comes in again, Marcia, because in terms of innovation, science, and technology, for those younger people who are not large corporations, large or middle-sized corporations will hire their own lawyers and they'll file the patents. But for people who are individual or small business people, we may have to have some kind of hand-holding program to help them on the patents, and it is something that you may want to look at in terms of the kind of support that the BIDC, Export Barbados, can work with you on. Okay?
Yes. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone.
And it sounds to me that in any event, you should be having a conversation with the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology.
Okay.
Because we are looking for more people like you. At the end of the day, the reason why we put the patent box there is that we can do much from this small rock. And if we do it, then we can monetize it for a global economy. And that's why Marcia's point about the Center for Governance and AI Innovation is so critical, because you talk, in fact, I came to address the students at this school a couple of years, it was probably at the beginning, 2 years ago, and I was struck every time I go into a secondary school, 50–60% of the children want to be either in music videos or software application. So it tells you that they are living in a different world from the majority of their parents, because they're seeing the global market as their market as opposed to only the domestic market. And we have to find a way of helping them to bridge that gap. And that's why we keep talking about global citizens with Bajan roots. So I could go on and on, but a little.
I understand, thank you.
I just wanted to comment on what you were sharing about the impact of AI and technology on the ability of labor to keep their jobs. It is a genuine problem, and it's anticipated that one third of the world's workforce will need to reskill or retool because the jobs that they're currently doing will disappear because of technology. What that means for us as a nation is that in our educational system, we have to be able to identify what are the new areas, what are the skills that are going to be needed for the future, and begin to encourage our young people and the people who are currently in the school system to move towards those particular jobs, towards those particular areas, so that they can become part of a global workforce that can have a sustainable job. And that is one of the reasons why the government has put so many resources behind education transformation, and the minister is here, who would be in charge of what the changes taking place at primary and secondary. But also at the tertiary level, we are trying to identify what are some of those new skills and ensure that we prepare this generation to engage it. Otherwise, we would be leaving a country without the capacity to earn and to carry the social services which we now have, and to look after all of the things that we have become accustomed to as a people. So that's why we need people with your concern, we need parents, we need business people to understand that we got to pull together to help Barbados make this transition across education, to be able to move the economy to a place where it can sustain itself in a changing global environment. Right?
Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. McIntosh. And just to say, I just want to encourage you, because I know this is an area that obviously you are working in. And just to say too that, you know, sometimes these are niche areas. We talk a lot about the artificial intelligence, but just bear in mind that you have to carve out for yourself a way to be able to fit into this space for Barbados. So you need to shape the discussion, and you need to also shape how we see ourselves in relation to these areas as well, all right? Okay, with that, I think you are the last person for tonight's Parish Speaks for St. James. I wanted perhaps to take the opportunity just to ask the three MPs if they just want to give any closing remarks before we close off, and also to thank the public officers and all of you for attending. I know the Prime Minister said she's not talking much tonight, but she still talked quite a bit. But just to wrap up on that note, Minister Husbands?
Thank you very much, Deputy PM. I just want to again express thanks to the various ministries that have really worked to help us make things happen for St. James South. In particular, we're very relieved to have the Prior Park Road. We are truly grateful for the work that UDC has done, especially in helping us with when we had that storm and had all of that damage. They really have done some excellent work. There's still a lot to be done, lots of things that we need to complete, but as an MP, I want to commit to St. James South that we will continue to work together with our partners in government to ensure that these things are addressed. But what I want to ask of all of us as Barbadians is that we have to work together on a common plan that helps us to improve what is happening in the communities with our children, to improve our productivity so that we can actually create the wealth that we need in order to solve the problems which we share. Because all the things that we ask about cost money, and we all have to work together to be able to produce the resources to make it happen. So I look forward to more of our journey.
Okay. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister and the Cabinet for coming, and I counted, I think, 15 Cabinet Ministers here this evening, and that shows the commitment of your representatives, those in decision-making capacity at executive level, to come and hear your concerns and your ideas and your recommendations, as happens every year in the month of September in St. James. We've had some interesting points. I tell my constituents it's an opportunity at least once a year to come and speak with the Prime Minister and her cabinet. And, you know, you should take advantage of that opportunity. I notice in terms of St. James North, I mean, the issue of road, of course, and I thank Ms. Edwards for raising the issue, and wider St. James, of course, the issue of beach access and beach protection, which, as Kerry and I have said, is certainly an issue that is addressing the minds of us and of Minister Duguid, who is in charge of town planning as well. So I thank you all for coming, and it has been an interesting discussion.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I would want to lend my voice to those who have already spoken to thank you for coming. I am not sure if Rommel is still here, Rommel Griffith, but he's not in the seat where he spoke from. But we have, Rommel, been able to make contact with the CEO of the QEH, and I think that some progress will be made with respect to your situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that, simply put, I am indebted to Samuel for raising the very vital matter, and I think Eddie would agree with me. The pulse of many of the issues that we have in our constituencies usually turns around this beach on the West Coast. It is a matter that both Eddie and I speak on very frequently. It is an issue, or there are issues related to the coast of Barbados that are sensitive, that require very careful and precise management solutions. And you have a willing and listening ear in both of us. And the Prime Minister quite rightly reminds me of the fact that restoration is also an issue. But there are some basic things that we have to do. And we have to make accesses truly accessible. And we have to make them safe. And we have to make sure, as Samuel pointed out, that in some cases, there are not just a little pathway where you narrowly can walk through one person by themselves, but really become a little bit wider so that the beach can be accessible for vehicles that need to be able to get to the beach if you have a person who is in need of serious assistance. These are some of the things that perhaps never were taken into consideration when the planning of the West Coast was evolved. It is made much more difficult given the fact that we have so many structures on the beach now, but it is a matter that we are having discussions with the minister responsible, and wherever it is possible, we're going to try to find solutions to wrestle some of these things to the ground.
Thank you very much.
I will just say thank you for coming out yet again. These fora are important for people to be able to share. Ms. Edwards, I thank you for your concerns and all of the other persons who spoke. I apologize for not being here earlier, and I explained why, but I thank Santia for chairing this session and the 3 MPs who continue to strongly and aggressively represent their constituents' interests, and each of them has captured it in what they've said thus far. So thank you very much, and everybody have a good night, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Forgive me for being so presumptuous to speak after the Prime Minister, but just to let you know, we've already set the date for Christchurch Speaks. This one was a little late, so we are actually into October when we really should have completed in September. But Christchurch Speaks will be on the 16th, Wednesday the 16th of this month. So we'll expect to see you in Christchurch if you are from Christchurch. If you're not from Christchurch, you can visit and take part, but you won't be able to speak. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope you all get home safely. Take care.